If Andy Ruiz Jr. versus Anthony Joshua is almost a $90 million fight, how much money will Wilder versus Ruiz be? But before we start, thank you again for your support. If you're new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss your latest boxing news. Once we found out that this fight in between Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua, the rematch, was gonna be taking place in Saudi Arabia, experts immediately reported that this fight was gonna be estimated in around $90 million fight. And once Andy Ruiz teams heard about this news, well, obviously negotiations got a little bit more strict. Because as we all know, Andy Ruiz previously signed a contract saying that if a rematch was to take place, he was only gonna make around $9 million, which is around a 10% of what the second fight will be. So when I put this together, I ask myself, then why take the Anthony Joshua fight when you have a Wilder fight next to you? Well, the answer is simple, because there is a rematch clause. But what will be the consequences if Andy Ruiz decides to ignore that part of the contract and go ahead and have another fight? Would it be a monetary penalty to Andy Ruiz, or would it be that he gets stripped from one of the sanctioning bodies? Because if it's a monetary penalty, it will be a monetary penalty that makes sense. So if he made $5 million in his first fight against Anthony Joshua, I'm pretty sure that penalty will be half of that or less. That will make you take in consideration that perhaps it would be smart from Heyman team to go ahead and take care of that debt and make the big fight in between Wilder and Ruiz happen, since I really don't think that the other sanctioning bodies will get involved in trying to stop that fight, since it will be an undisputed fight. And it will make a lot of sense for Andy Ruiz, since if he wins or loses, he still got that rematch against Anthony Joshua. And I think that's the whole thing that Eddie Hearn is trying to avoid by doing all this fake press conference and trying to push this fight as far as he can get. Not to mention, it seems like Anthony Joshua is not on board because his account is still very quiet. Now if you think about it and we put into perspective that back then when we all thought that Wilder was not a big star and he was not gonna be making all this money, we was still thinking that a fight in between him and Anthony Joshua was gonna be on around $100 million fight. But how much money do we think that Wilder and Ruiz will make, since we know and it's a fact that Mexico is behind Andy Ruiz Jr. And if we make a fight of that magnitude, it will be a pay-per-view fight in which I believe in my heart it could easily be close to the $1 million or million pay-per-view buys, I should say. And if those numbers are correct, then it will make so much more sense to go fight Wilder now, because he will make much more money than $9 million. Now Eddie Hearn said in a recent interview after the press conference, he said that Andy Ruiz, all the sanctioning bodies, and Eddie Hearn himself signed for this rematch clause on the first contract back in June. So does that mean that the sanctioning bodies will get in between Andy Ruiz and Deontay Wilder to make that undisputed fight? Well, I don't know, but I do know that recent history has shown that the WBA and the WBC are willing to bend some rules for the greater good of boxing. On the other hand, we think the IBF very strict and going in a direct line when it comes to rules. When it comes to the WBO, I think they are very quiet, because if all this ended up in Andy Ruiz being split by the IBF, I think they will follow up and go back to their main promoter, which is Top Rank, which I'm pretty sure they would love to crown Tyson Fury as the WBO heavyweight champion of the world. But in my opinion, I believe that this will not hurt the heavyweight division at all. In fact, I believe that Andy Ruiz has added up some spice into the heavyweight division. And if Eddie Hearn does not want to give more money to Andy Ruiz, then Andy Ruiz could just easily turn around and go make that fight against Deontay Wilder, whether he gets stripped from a couple of belts or he gets fined for a couple of $1 million. I still think that he will win at the end of the tunnel. He will make more money, and the Anthony Joshua fight will always be there. Ultimately, in my personal opinion, I believe that this is the best thing that could happen to Anthony Joshua, for Andy Ruiz to walk away and make a fight against Wilder, so Anthony Joshua can slowly build back up with perhaps the IBF title. Thank you for watching.